So you said that you would finish, but you didn't. If that statement tracks with you, please stick around. This is a sound check for our final video for our March Focus and Follow Through coaching program. See you on the other side. So you said to yourself, not to me or anyone else, that you would start the project and you would finish, but you still haven't. You said you would finish. You don't even say you finish. You said you would do it, right? And today's question, if you were not to finish this video and just watch the first minute, today's reflection question is, so why didn't you finish? So why did you not finish? Right? So today we are reflecting on follow through, and the bigger hot seat question is why you start things and not finish them. And I hope that even as you come into this video and sit with yourself, I hope that you will be brutally honest and be able to actually address the core of that question, because you live with yourself for 24/7. So you are the only person who can objectively answer that question. And if you are at a place where you aren't able to actually start properly and finish, I would like to offer you an opportunity to join our workshops this year. We will be running workshops throughout the year, every last Saturday of every month except September. I will be holding space and curating reflective spaces where I will be helping you think through your lived experience. So if you're looking for such a space, please do leave a comment or send us a message on 7837278 on our WhatsApp line, right? And I will send you all the details, or follow us on Instagram at story.agebw. So welcome to today's video. 18-year-old, I think all the way from 18 until 28-year-old Gorata would watch this video and cringe, because so many things I'd started, and I can't even say started because it was just ideas that were in my mind, but psychologically I'd believed that I had started and never taken anything off the ground for those many years, until COVID came and it shook the landscape. It was like taking away all the options and all the excuses that I've ever had. And I caught myself publishing my first book, my first poetry collection during COVID, titled Beautiful and Beloved, which was a collection of poetry I wrote when I was 18. And I think I'm getting into another phase where I'm realizing that I might be required to put aside all the excuses yet again and show up for those projects that I've created in my mind and never taken off the ground. This year is a year of betting on myself, and I've done one scary thing and decided that this year I will be hosting a workshop every single month of 2026 from April. I have a guest fly until the end of the year, except September and December, right? So in thinking about follow through as a check-in, I'd say that personally I'd struggled with the whole concept of starting and finishing. And I think the biggest story of me not finishing would be having had started my MBA and completing all my theory and not finishing my dissertation. I think I've come to a place of acceptance in terms of the fact that that happened, but I had a lot of denial in terms of the fact that I was not done with it, right? And I think still at a place where I'm, trying to decide whether or not I'll be going back at it. I'd hope that I'll do it this year, but navigating motherhood. But it would sound as an excuse, but I think it's just a matter of understanding priorities. Gives you peace of mind when you make certain decisions, and standing and believing that one day I will complete a program, a master's program, whatever it looks like, probably before the age of 40. So in thinking about it from that perspective, to say, okay, I wasn't able to complete that program, but one day I will be able to follow through and complete a program, right? So not giving up completely just because I wasn't able to complete that part. So I don't know about you. Maybe you can share in the comments, what have you started that you haven't finished, and how does it make you feel? Like for me, I think the emotions that I navigated were shame, fear that I'm gonna be behind my peers, anxiety that I started, I didn't finish, a bit of frustration because I couldn't figure out the dissertation part, or I didn't actually give myself time to do it. I think it wasn't a matter of not being able to figure it out. So those are the emotions that I was navigating, and I'm actually currently running a series on my TikTok. Please do check it out, where I am unpacking all the emotions from the list of emotions that I've shared before. I hope I've shared it here, from Susan David, right? So that's my check-in. I don't know if I'll be able to put them here. I will be honest and say that I have been lazy in terms of editing because my weeks have been showing me flames. I think they haven't been looking like when the year began, and they've been testing my consistency, but I am learning to show up fully and show up still. So please check in the comments. How would you describe your follow through? What have you started, or what are you doing currently? What have you done that you have not finished? So the key thought today is around follow through and turning intention into completion, and realizing that I haven't actually done the intro. Hi. I'm Gorata.Selaledi, your personal change strategist from here on out until kingdom come. And what we do here on my channel, we pray, we read the Bible, we worship, and we rinse and repeat. And structure tickles my brain, hence these Monday videos, right? So I had a whole layout, I think, for a flow for the day. But I think I'm just going to take this opportunity to have us think through the past 3 weeks, right? We've been talking about focus and follow through, and we're going to be doing an exercise, just one coaching exercise. I'd thought to do many, but we are reading The One Thing by Gary Keller. I was actually laughing because last week I couldn't remember, and feel my son has taken a large chunk of my brain. But yeah, in reading The One Thing by Gary Keller, learning to just focus our energy on one impactful thing. So today we are going to be doing an exercise on finish the one thing, right? So finish one thing, and this is really truly a completion exercise where I'd want for you to think of one thing, right? So if you were to think about the past 2 weeks, we're going to take that as our time frame. Choose one thing, right? So what is that thing? So our exercise has 3 parts. This is step 1. So choose one thing. What is one task or goal that you started but didn't finish? What is one task or goal that you started but didn't finish? So if you were to choose a thing, it could be in relation to your health. What is that one thing that you started and you didn't finish? Number 2, I want you to break it down, right? And our reflection point for breaking it down is to then say, what is the next small step to move it forward? Right? This week I've been learning how to phrase your goals positively. Instead of saying I want to lose weight, right, which is negatively phrased, you positively phrase it to say I want to be fit and healthy. So in thinking about the goal that you've started in terms of your health, the starting point could be reframing the language that you use with regards to your goals, which is something that I'm learning through the neuro-linguistic programming practitioner course that I'm doing with ecology, right? So in thinking about the next small step to move it forward, once we've reframed it positively, what is the positive reframe? Another example they gave is to say, I want to get out of debt, which is negatively framed, compared to I want to be financially free, right? So then in thinking about the goal and reframing the language that you've used to name the goal or the task, what is the next small step to move it forward? And another thing, can that thing be done in 30 to 60 minutes? You'd find that usually the answer would be yes. And particularly in terms of our health, I would take an example of myself. I had started skipping rope and I had stopped because I'd started too intense. And thinking about the past coaching courses, we talked about intensity and how it leads to overwhelm. Started intensely, I got too tired, and the lesson here in terms of breaking that down and reflecting on my first quarter of the year, it would then be to start smaller, right? So instead of the 30-minute window I can literally just do 15 minutes, right? And then step 3, I would want us to work on removing the resistance, right? So removing the resistance, what is making this feel heavy or difficult? So in thinking about my skipping rope journey, I think would be the timing in terms of how long I wanted to do it. I remember saying to my friend, I started jumping rope and my body is clearly too heavy for my body, and I went in too ham, right? But also in thinking about the mindset and the language that I used in relation to my health journey to say I want to lose weight versus I want to be fit and healthy by the end of the year, I am learning to get to that place where I speak positively to myself with regards to this area, and come April I am going to try again. So the question then would be, in terms of removing the resistance, how can you make it easier? I had a conversation with my husband just talking about, I'd say, the journey of trying to work out, to then say, how can I then make it easier? And he said, you don't have to skip rope. You could do home workouts in the morning since you wake up a bit early. So that's an option, a lighter option. I'd done, I think January, I'd wanted to start Pilates with Izzy, and that was intense. That's 1,000% from zero. So not that, but doing something lighter like your yoga or a lighter form of Pilates as a start. But I'd want to challenge you to answer the question, how can you make it easier? What does that look like for that specific goal, right? So step 4 would be to commit, right? Making a commitment just as you would to someone else. I'd want for you to make a commitment to yourself as well, to then say, when exactly will you complete this? What is the commitment? And that answer needs to specify the day and the time. The day and the time. So as I'm sharing from my learned experience this past quarter, don't put too much pressure on yourself to do a long stretch. So instead of doing 5 days, 2 hours every day, you can split it and just do 3 days, 30 minutes every day, and then increase intensity after you've done it for 64 days straight, which is something I'm learning from the book that we're reading, The One Thing by Gary Keller, which says it takes 64 days to build your habit. Right? So when exactly are you going to do it? Right? If it was to be a date, please set it in your calendar, which makes it even more concrete. And if you were to take another step, would be to share it with someone who can hold you accountable, right, to that specific goal. So an affirmation to think through as we think about following through is to then say, in terms of your goals, you don't need to finish everything. in terms of your scheduling this week or this coming month, you just need to finish something. So in thinking and completing the completion exercise, I'd want you to put yourself down and think about, what is that one thing that I said I was going to do? You said you would do it. So why didn't you finish? Right? Why did you not finish? Right? So we've come to the end of our program for the month of March. And in thinking about the book that we're reading, I'd want to ask you to complete, I'd say, the cycle by deciding on the one thing that you're going to work on for the next month, right? And then going back to the book we read in January, which is the 12-week year, I want you to commit for 12 full weeks in working on that specific goal, right? Part of me wants to go back and honor the part of me that is creative. So from April, I will be workshopping my keyboard, workshopping my health, right? So what is it about you that you're going to work on? And truly, in terms of building consistency from Q1, the two things that I can point to are my YouTube and my TikTok, in terms of having seen a rhythm and a method in terms of copying and pasting consistency and how that journey has been. So I'm literally just going to take what I've learned from this area into this creative space that I want to move into to honor that part of myself. So what is it for you, right? So we come to the end of today's video. I love the fact that my videos are becoming shorter and we are getting to a rhythm where we are very conversational in terms of how we interact and less robotic. That is the goal for the month of March. That is the goal for the rest of the year. And I think it's just as a closing thought, something I was thinking about is how did I frame it in my mind was to say that at some point all the big creators were small creators. And I know that someone in my community said, don't call yourself a small creator, but small in the terms of the numbers or the metrics that are used by social media, obviously. Then to say, though, in thinking about my own personal journey, to say truly, I appreciate my platform because it is teaching me consistency in the silence, in the small, typically small, I'll put that in quotes, but it is teaching me and helping me learn consistency for myself. So I will continue creating until kingdom come. But otherwise, I hope that this video has blessed you. I pray that may God's favor locate you and may His grace sustain you, and praying that I will be able to bring back worship next month, given that we've done away with our worship minute in our Sunday and Friday videos. But otherwise, I will see you Friday. Thank you so much for tuning in. Be blessed. Yeah, I'll see you Friday. That's the last video for this month, and then content break. But otherwise, I hope you keep well. Please leave me a pink heart in the comments if you've made it to the end. Be blessed.